Hey everyone, welcome to a General's Zero Hour tutorial brought to you by Scottagorn
and WilyWolf.
WilyWolf. Today, the general of subject is China Infantry. And the occasion for that, the reason that interviewing you on this general is that you are 13-0 in team games with this general, have not lost a team game yet. And so I figured you might be a good person to ask some questions about the general.
Well, alrighty, what are we starting out with?
I was hoping to see your build order, actually, on this map. I noticed you went 4 dozers, started out with 1, you built 3. 3 of them go to make supplies, and I was just wondering, is this a standard sort of build order for you when you're in the pocket on this map, or was this specific because you were against hard army here? You tailored it against a hard army.
No, this is a normal build order for me when I'm in the pocket. I'm greedy and I claim all 3 of the supplies that are adjacent to me on this map.
I do notice that gives you 3, and that gives your teammates 1.5.
Yep.
A little bit greedy.
1.5 to my 2 if we're splitting each of the ones in the on the sides.
Oh, that's fair. Fair.
But then there's also always these money crates in the middle, so I always try to rush forwards to collect those if I can. Looks like Robert got them this time, though.
I think there's 2,400 total in the middle, if I'm remembering right. One crate has 1,000, the other 2 each side have 100. So you send a dozer. Notice you're not able to heal it because China Infantry General is the China that you don't get repair as an option right off the bat.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You built a forward barracks and you're getting your minigunners up to the front now.
Yeah. Always try to drop a couple of minigunners and a couple of rocket troopers, sort of intermix between the two on my first barracks. Never know if I'm facing dozers or infantry or both of them probably.
Do you alternate? You go minigunner, tank hunter, you'll alternate them?
A couple at a time. 2 minigunners, 2 rocket troopers, or maybe vice versa. I guess it should also depend on what general you're up against. I mean, if you're facing GLA as I was here, then you should do more minigunners than not. Or Red Guards, I guess, on a normal China.
So one of the awesome things about infantry, one of my favorite things, is just how well those minigunners shoot planes out of the sky. And we just saw Hard Army send a couple MiGs your way, and they just melted almost as they were making the turn to go back to their base.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you do anti-air as this general?
As infantry general, minigunners truly are your anti-air. I mean, you can use Gatling turrets to intersperse into your defenses since you don't have USA's fire bases with putting minigunners in them, but I mean, you can also just put minigunners inside of a regular old bunker. And the infantry general's bunkers, holding 10 troops each is absolutely absurd. So you can stack in 8 rocket troopers, 2 minigunners, or 4 and 6, and that'll clear any tanks and airplanes that come near. The interesting thing I did note, though, is that minigunners have a range on ground of around 175, which relatively is a really short range. We all know that infantry can't shoot very far. Or maybe, no, it's 125. Comparatively, rocket troopers can shoot 175, but when the minigunner is shooting in the air, then they're hitting for around 375 or something to that degree. So their range in the air is really, really far, and it's actually further than the rocket troopers themselves.
That makes sense for how they're able to start spinning up their gun, because it does take a little bit of time. They get that far sight and that far range, and then by the time the plane is above them, they're spinning at about full speed then.
Mm-hmm.
Noticed you didn't put any bunkers down in the middle. You were going for Gatling turrets instead with your dozers. Was that just because you had those garrisons already? Would you have gone for bunkers if those garrisons weren't there?
Yeah, if those garrisons weren't there, definitely would have gone for some bunkers. Bunkers truly are the bread and butter of the infantry general, whether you're doing them here in a garrison, or whether you're making the defensive bunkers, or if you're just treating your units like bunkers with helixes or troop crawlers or assault outposts. I noticed in this game that I'm trying to take on the helix route and upgrade these with bunkers. I think I can actually see. Yeah, haven't gotten the bunker upgrade on them yet. This one has it, but it can hold 8 in here.
Pretty good. Also see the nuke cannon driving up north to north side of Paul's base.
Oh yeah.
He's on the edge of his base, and you are sending in long-range support.
Yeah, he was definitely having some trouble with Titan in this game, and I was trying to do what I could up there. Actually, that's where most of my focus was. I actually let Joe handle most of the middle here after I put my troops in those garrisons. Um, but I actually spent most of the first half of the game focused on defending PCAP with Titan and building up my base.
So I'm really curious about that aspect, actually. You really like playing the pocket. You don't always do it, but it seems often, if you can, you're going to go for somewhere in the back. What is your mindset? How do you see your role being for your team to achieve victory from that position? Let's say this game is an example. You and PCAP and Neo versus Titan, Shifty, and Hard Army. The game's starting up. You're in the pocket. What do you see your job being? How do you contribute to winning the game?
Yeah. Quick note here. Unfortunately, my nuke cannon was actually killed by this artillery platform. Turns out they have
Yeah,
the exact
2
same
shots.
range. I never knew that. Nuke cannons and artillery platforms, same range.
Not the same health points, though.
Not at all. Yeah, so my mindset is generally that I'm going to make as much money as I can as fast as I possibly can. And I see it at, I generally rely on my teammates to be the wall. And I'm figuring that my purpose is to build economy and outpace the other team, and do that as fast as I can. If, of course, there's if someone is losing their front line, then the pocket player is supposed to be there to defend them. And as GLA especially, you always have to put tunnel networks into the near the front of your teammates' bases to make sure you can get there quickly in time. But yeah, generally my mindset is economy, and if I'm in the pocket, and I'll reactively help out at the front line, but I'm not really going to often do that much until I've actually got a strong force going, and then I'll just hammer in forwards.
Yeah, I noticed that with the not the Chinooks. What are they called? The
Helixes?
Helixes. This game, you send them into the middle to take on some tanks, and then you actually draw them back. You end up sending them up PCAP's area to take on some of Titan's troops, and then it gets injured, and then you pull it back. I noticed you're playing side to side, but until you reach a certain point in the game, you're not pressing inward. You're not even testing the bases across from you to see what's there, because you've got 9 tank hunters in those helixes.
Mm-hmm.
You could see what's there, but it's more important for you to preserve those helixes instead of maybe losing them to a couple of Avengers up there.
Yeah, and that's something that I could probably improve upon. Oh, there's Black Lotus. Is that I don't do much scouting generally, um, and I just prefer to wait until I have an internet center, and then I'll get the satellite upgrade or the propaganda center intelligence, and I'll just wait until I have full map view, and then I'll scout with that rather than trying to do it with troops, which does often set me back from opportunities that rushing forwards could do. Here's the nuke cannon. Yeah, that really messed up our front line that game.
I think your artillery platform is what ends up taking that one out, if I
Yeah.
remember right. Just
Uh-huh.
like yours getting taken out in 2
Uh-huh.
shots by Titans.
That is true.
So
Yeah.
you went with a 2 War Factory build order here. You got 2 War Factories up right away. What's the first thing out of your War Factory as infantry general in this situation, and why?
Hmm. I would say probably in this situation, first thing out would be actually not much. So I actually didn't end up using those war factories that much. In this situation, it's the troop crawlers. I was debating between whether I would put those out first or whether I would use flame tanks. Gatling tanks are also a choice that can be made for situationally, but the flame tanks is going to be my early option against a GLA if I'm not in the pocket. But in this situation, I'm going for the troop crawlers because they're the most cost-efficient way to get minigunners, and I generally produce. I also got a couple of barracks here, and I usually produce tank hunters out of those. So that's how I get my mix of troops. I'll get tank hunters building out of my barracks in parallel with troop transports. So I'm building both of those types of infantry at once.
Do you remember it was a game on Twilight Flame? You took the time to empty your assault troop transports of their minigunners, and you put rocket troops in there instead. And I think it worked pretty well as an anti-armor sort of solution there for infantry who usually does not have very much in their tank arsenal against heavy armor.
Yeah,
That
that's
can be done. That's another option.
that is one of the things that I've started doing, and I don't think many do, is loading tank hunters into the troop crawlers. Um, and I love doing that primarily because they got 8 slots. It's ridiculous how many rocket troopers that is. That's basically same as Battle Bus or one of these helixes. And you can just watch these tanks die from how many rockets spam out of a eight slot bunker. Um, but yeah, so I like to put tank hunters inside of the troop crawlers for the number of slots you get. The unfortunate drawback to that is that the troop crawlers just don't have much health, and they are killed by I think like 4 rockets or something like that, even from a stinger site. So they go down pretty fast. And so if you're actually in a tank v tank battle, you're almost better to just evacuate the tank hunters. The only time that it's really helpful is when you're fighting something like quad cannons or Gatling cannons, where they're actually safer inside of the troop crawler. So one thing that I'm wanting to experiment more with is fully loading tank hunters into attack outposts, because I learned that the attack outposts, even though they only have 6 slots due to a 1.06 nerf, they do have a lot more armor and health than the troop crawlers do.
Yeah, I've
Um,
noticed that too.
so I think those are
Uh,
probably the better bet. Oh, this is an interesting note. These guys aren't shooting rockets right now. That's actually because I set them to guard that area, and if you guard with something that's bunkered, like the Helix or the troop crawlers or even Humvees or something like that, it won't necessarily use those troops inside, and that can be very annoying and sadly underpowered.
it's true. I've noticed that with Humvees against buildings, with guard mode, you have to individually target the buildings. I didn't know that applied to those helixes as well.
Yeah, I think it's almost anything where there's just troops inside of another unit. Something we just
So
saw here.
what?
The Avenger
Go
went
ahead.
down and from these 2 helixes, and an Avenger was only able to take down about a quarter of one of these helixes' health when they were both going at it. And it's shooting down the rockets that are coming out of the helix too. So that's something to remember. Is these guys are tanky enough straight up just destroy the thing that is singly meant to fight them. So sometimes I have to remember that because I like to only go into battles that are strong countered, but other times things like this you just send it in and it'll defeat its own counter if it's got the capabilities.
If you've got the numbers, yeah, that's right. I was going to ask you what prompted you to finally decide that it was time. You're moving in. You're not just playing side to side.
Yeah,
Did you
PCAP
see something, or you just had the economy finally going?
I had the troops ready. PCAP had finally stabilized, so I wasn't worried about the sides. And Titan harassed me with an early Raptor back in the middle, and I think that's what sort of triggered my aggro in a way. But then I looked up towards his base and saw he didn't really have many defenses, which I could have noticed probably about 10 minutes earlier. But after seeing there was no defenses and realizing how much pressure he'd been putting on PCAP, I decided to just see what I could do. Take out some war factories, slow his production down for a while, and try and give PCAP the ability to gain the edge and shift the momentum back the other way.
Well, Neo's got the advantage on Shifty. How did you time that? How did you know? That's amazing. I never saw that before.
Yeah, this is just guesstimation turning out real well.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I suppose
Oh, go ahead.
Neo had the advantage on Shifty, and so it makes sense not to bother Hard Army's base. I've noticed, I think this is true, if you bother Hard Army's base, you can actually reinvigorate them for the second half of the game. If you take out a few of their buildings, you enable them to send their troops at you, whereas if you don't touch them, just leave them alone, they get all congested, tanks get stuck behind buildings, and they stop producing. It does make sense to go after Titan now.
Yeah, I didn't have to worry about the bottom right the whole game. Neo had that well in hand. Oh, and this was my favorite moment. It was just waiting for that war factory to go up with my Black Lotus there. Like, I'll walk over here and, oh, it's done. Thank you. I'll take that, please. Meanwhile, I'd gotten some Crusaders out the other one to deal with the dozers.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, pocket playing, you like to get the economy going, you like to help your friends out to make sure there's no intrusions into anybody's base early. How does Infantry General specifically help you to do that? How are they good at that?
Hackers.
I mean, I'm thinking we've seen it. Yeah, they're hackers for the economy. They come out already promoted, so they start out doing $6 instead of $5. They are camouflaged, so you can hide them well.
Which actually doesn't look like I actually made too many super hackers in this game, which I really should have. But yeah, they are fantastic. It's one of the reasons I love Infantry General is that they've got the best economy of any China. Not only are the hackers better, but they are also stealthed, and China's main vulnerability is just, artillery strikes or helixes or rebel ambushes that just shred those hackers. And Infantry General, just churn out the hackers as fast as you can, hide them in little pockets all over the back of your map, which I should have been doing here, and you can get up a real strong economy fast. I guess I was relying more on those supply depots than I should have been. Looks like my money is not going up that fast here at the end of the game, so I really focused more on the attack and stopped with the economy.
With Infantry General though, their troops that you used at least this game, the helixes, they are more geared less towards building a humongous army that you need tons of economy to support, and maybe geared towards more specialized units like the nuke cannon that you had earlier. You don't make 25 nuke cannons typically and just send them at the other guy. You make 2 or 3 and you use them for a purpose. Kind of the same thing with how you use the helixes this game. You made 4 or 5 and used them for a purpose. So you're
That's
still able to
true.
be very effective.
Yeah, and Superload is also going along with that is very much a incision type of strategy. You get in
Right.
a little bit, sneak here or there, do a lot of damage in a little bit of time, and hopefully don't get caught doing it. But if you do get caught, then the whole thing goes down.
If you haven't been building your base at the same time, that's right.
Yeah, but yeah, it's the helixes, nuke cannons, Black Lotus, definitely all very special unit type of scenarios. The great thing about infantry general, though, if you do those assault troop crawlers, which I didn't do this game, or you do those attack outposts, and you put those together with, oh, it looks like we're at the end of the game, and you do that with a just mass production, which was sort of what I think I was planning to do originally with the war factories before I transitioned to the helixes. You, even if those vehicles die, you just end up with 30, 40, 50 infantry going into your enemy base, and that overwhelms a lot of things. Unless you've got snipers or Jarman Kell or something really fast on the infantry killing, those will wipe out a lot of things, be it turrets or tanks or other infantry. So the horde strategy does work with infantry general too. You just have to play towards those units instead.
2 things on that, and then we can jump to another replay here, because we got more to come.
Oh yeah.
Learned recently that the troops in a assault troop crawler, or no, I think it's the attack outpost actually. When the attack outpost is destroyed, they come out with 50% health, whereas the normal Chinas, they come out with more health than that. I think it's 80%.
Interesting.
So that was a way for the developers to actually mitigate a person's ability to make tons and tons of outposts just for the units inside them and send them all in and have the units inside able to then destroy the base. So it can be done, like you said, but they've got 50% health, so a little less.
Yeah.
The other thing is that if you take those tank hunters out of the attack outpost, get them all grouped together, get that horde bonus, and then send them all into it at one time, then they get the horde bonus. If you've got 3 of them and you add 2, they never get the horde bonus. They keep their horde bonus into the attack outpost if you group them all together first. But then that's more micro, and more micro is kind of why it's hard to remember to put extra guys in the attack outposts in the first place.
I knew that they got the horde bonus inside vehicles, but I didn't realize that they didn't get it if you put half in and then loaded the other half.
Yep, you gotta take them out and regroup them.
Interesting.
99% sure on that one.
And
all right.
That brings up another bit on the infantry general. Horde bonus is improved by nationalism, usually by China generals, but infantry general has a better one, even patriotism, which is actually not often bought from what I've seen in replays.
So patriotism gives you even more of a bonus than usual?
More of a horde bonus, and so does nationalism on a normal China.
I never even noticed that there was a difference. I didn't even notice that the words were different at all.
Another of infantry general's bonuses. Anyway, on to the next replay.
Next replay is going to be a free-for-all, and we have 3 China infantries this time, so lots to observe about the general.
Yeah, first thing that's going to be happening of note in this game is Skippy and Pancake going at it early. 2 different infantry generals, both playing to fight each other, and at the start I focused on Shifty on the left, and we fight over this center supply a bit. But
I noticed that you've got a barracks going up first thing, and he has a supply going up, so it looks like advantage goes to you there, just by the building choices that you both pick.
Yep. I think I'm able to prevent him from holding on to that for too long. And start putting up a bunker quickly to hold off that. Also, love that the infantry general bunkers come with mines. They are the fastest building defenses, along with regular bunkers, of course, in the game. But man, that initial area of effect defense that they provide, so nice. You just put 1 or 2 rocket troopers in there, and that early defense is pretty solid.
I've seen people, after they see somebody else already putting up their defense, they run up real close to that defense, they start building a bunker. The bunker still finishes before the opponent's defense finishes. They get a couple of tank hunters in there, advantage goes to China.
Yeah. That can definitely happen. Oh, and I put another bunker up forwards. That's the thing. Because they build so fast, you can risk putting them up without being able to see that much. Like my sightline here, I have no idea what Robert's doing on the other edge of this fog of war. But that bunker builds so fast that I'm pretty sure I can usually get it up and put something in, gain a bit more ground.
Cheap defense too. I think they're $700, somewhere in that range.
Yep, not much
so,
at all.
Skippy spent himself down to $50, building as many infantry as he could. Pancake went a little bit more conservative. He's got a group of 3 minigunners right there, and he's got a group of 3 that are more towards the middle.
Yeah,
but Skippy's got 6 minigunners and 6 tank hunters.
Yep. Oh, and this is showing the nationalism and patriotism here. Nationalism is an automatic upgrade. Patriotism is what you buy at the propaganda center for the infantry general. So
wow, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, we see Skippy here going after the production buildings immediately. Can't produce, can't defend.
You guys just started with 10,000, it looks like. So as opposed to our 20,000 games.
I don't remember, but probably.
I'm pretty sure, because look, that's his second war factory. I think you guys started at 10,000, so Pancake didn't have a whole bunch extra to rebuild with.
Yeah.
Sending some minigunners that way, but they're getting
picked off.
Yep.
You know, when you send one into a group, it's not a it's not an equal battle of 1-to-1 trades. Sometimes you just have to wait and build a couple at a time, group them up, and then send them in. Otherwise, they'll all just die to the whole group.
Yep, and give them more promotions as well.
Yep. So this early attack went very well.
Can you see how many troops he has left after all that, Skippy? How many of his... They all just get picked off?
Yeah, so the initial assault, Pancake had a little bit left, but then here comes a whole new squad that Skippy built. If that answers.
He was banking on you not attacking him for some reason, huh?
I
have a theory. I have a theory that you and Skippy are in cahoots and free-for-alls, but we don't have to get into that. That's fine.
Well,
it's just a theory.
I always know that Skippy wants to generally play for second, so unless I do something to aggravate him, usually he'll fight other folks unless he's directly next to me. I have had to ward him off a couple times, but generally, ooh, that's nice and clean up right there.
What did Pancake do? Did he target them individually? How did Pancake's troops do so much better there?
I think it was just because Skippy was approaching while Pancake was stationary. I think that's all there is to it.
Do you ever use attack move?
I use attack
guard
move
mode
all the time.
Okay, that's what I need to get more into.
Yeah, I use attack move and guard probably more often than I use regular move.
Yeah, I overuse guard big battles. I think I need to transition to attack move for that. I definitely use guard for destroying bases, absolutely, but
oh yeah, it's so fast.
Units versus units, I need to start using attack move instead. Alright, so your brother's found some range that you can't deal with because you don't have any cannons. Any of those... What do you call them?
Nukes? Infernos?
No. No. Gatling cannons.
Ah,
Gatling
yes.
cannons would shoot those if you've got chain gun upgrade. Chain gun upgrade on infantry does not affect the minigunners because they're not using Gatling guns, they're using chain guns. But it will still help out with your Gatling cannons.
Yeah. Yeah, I was having some troubles with Robert here on the left for a long time because those I just didn't build anything to deal with his range. I think I at this point started building an airport pretty soon, and that was how I was handling it for a little bit. But sometimes it was just a matter of sending a couple rocket troopers forwards to sort of scare him off, and then he'd retreat a bit, and then he'd be near range of fire base wide retreat, and then he'd come back up again, and we just sort of seesaw back and forth. And it was way too much micro, and he was distracting me a lot from doing anything else with that. So I had to come up with something else. But he was harassing me. Something fierce there.
Your supply goes down, but I did notice that you have some of the oils in the middle.
Yeah, I focused on getting those really early. Pancake
4 out of 4.
deprived me of these two, unfortunately. I didn't want to build defenses all the way around. But I got to keep the bottom two for a little while. Unfortunately, Pancake decided to come to middle since he was blocked on the right side, and that cost me some money.
Yeah, interesting that he's destroying them instead of capturing them. Now that his own base has been wiped out.
And he does have the capture.
So let me ask you, with the general's promotions for infantry general, which ones do you typically prefer right off the bat? I mean, you get minigunner training for that extra promotion.
Yeah, obviously. Always get minigunner training.
There's artillery training for the Inferno cannons to be upgraded. There's nuke cannons, so you can use nuke cannons. And then there's Frenzy.
I generally go with the minigunners and the nuke cannons. I am, as a player, almost never used Frenzy, and that's something that is more of I don't understand how much value it adds, so I don't try to calculate that, and I don't try to spend a point on it since I don't know precisely how much it helps. But I know, of course, the nuke cannon is really helpful, so I get that, and you know that elite minigunner gives you not just all the things of faster rate of fire and health and armor and damage, but gives you that wonderful heal too. So always definitely pull that one up. Oh yeah, that's when that Burton bombed me and lost my barracks. Thankfully, I had those guys who should deal with Burtons. Still lost that barracks.
Could sell it right now.
I could have.
Something to think about for next time.
Yeah. I also sometimes try and get a dozer to clear off the mines, and sometimes it just sort of, even though I can see the mine, it just sits there and doesn't do it, and then ends up getting blown up by the explosion too. I don't know what I'm doing.
I've never gotten that to work. For Colonel Burton's charges, I've never gotten that to work with the dozer.
Yeah. I don't know if there's something doing wrong or if it's just not count as a bomb that can be undone, but I just
Maybe we're pressing the wrong button. So, okay. At this point in the game, you've got 2 oils, 2 of them are destroyed, but 2 of them are pretty well defended. How do you picture winning at this point? If you can kind of recall or recapture, what's your free-for-all strategy? 4 players are still in the game. One of them's not really bothering you, Skippy. One of them is. What is your overall strategy now? How do you picture winning?
At this point, I mean, free-for-alls are always a game of politics, but in general, I don't actually want to mess with Pancake that much. I was sad that he was taking out my my center derricks, but I mean, I went really far forward, so that makes sense. I don't generally expect the person opposite me to come after me, so it's always one of the two sides. And I mean, obviously, Skippy hadn't done anything to me yet, so I was going after Robert. Oh yeah, there's those MiGs that I was using for the long range. Yeah, very ineffective now that there's an Avenger there. But yeah, at this point, I am just trying to figure out some manner of taking out Robert, and that is primarily all I'm going to try and do. And if Skippy comes after me, then I'll just deal with that when it comes to it. But I'm just hoping at this point that that doesn't happen, and I get to continue having my one-on-one with Robert. I think I am probably one of the players more prone to try and start asking other players in the free-for-all voice chat if they want truce while we go do other things. But that's the best I got. I mean, there's not much more you can do other than just continually building your economy and trying to deal as much damage as you can to the players around you. I think one thing I do have a habit of, though, is not finishing people off. I always attack someone, I tend to weaken them, and then at some point, especially during that attack, if someone else pokes me, then I'll just retreat and go, okay, you've been pulled back, but I don't want to kill you immediately, because you might also still have a fight going with someone else, and on the other hand, this other person is attacking me right now, so I have to go deal with that. But I have a bad habit of not finishing people off when I should in free-for-alls, and that's come back to bite me a number of times.
I think the thing about that is that now you've made an enemy, because you've destroyed half of their base. And sure, they could go against somebody else, but like, we're humans, we want to attack the person who attacked us, so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which Pancake here is not doing much of. He's not taking the fight to Skippy much. He just comes after the oil derricks in the middle, and then he sends this incursion to attack Robert. I think in this game, if I remember correctly, I did manage to make some headway here, but then I just turned right and went after Skippy instead, because I heard that Robert was having trouble with Pancake, so I decided to not give too much pressure, too much of a headache at the same time, and deal insult to injury. But sometimes I also do like to try and be fair, and if I know someone is getting pressured, maybe ease off and go after someone else.
Pancake does not have any dozers, he doesn't have a propaganda center, so he can't build any range. All he's got is infantry.
Yeah, he's
not getting past your Gatling cannons, so he's got the choice between Skippy, he's got a huge force there waiting for him, or a USA base, which is typically much more vulnerable to infantry. So I guess that's a good time to ask you, when you see infantry, team game or free-for-all, whatever it is, what factions do you not want to see across from you, and which ones are you licking your chops when you see them?
Well, the funny thing about all of this is that I actually don't like being infantry general. I'm coming around to it more and more, but I actually just don't like it. I am annoyed when I don't get tanks, even if I can build a bunch of other things and have other strengths. Just the fact of not having some form of armor to answer another armor when the need arises, it annoys me so much. So I haven't spent too much time thinking about who particularly I like or don't like, but I would say, of course, if anyone, it'd be USAs or GLA Toxin. USAs, of course, have the snipers. Toxin can just toxin everything that you have, and their tunnel networks are even, and rockets all have the toxin that just spreads it everywhere, and even the tanks shells automatically get the toxin. So even tanks will just shoot your infantry and leave little clouds that fill them down. So probably toxin is my most unfavorable matchup that I see. And other than that, I'd say my most favored one would be GLA Stealth, because Infantry General naturally has so much stealth detection because you're building a lot of assault troop crawlers and attack outposts if you're going on the land route, and both of those have automatic stealth detection, so you can roll into a GLA stealth base and not really have to worry about finding things. So you just kill whatever is the first thing in front of you. And they don't have much heavy armor either, so if you just put some rocket troopers in to take care of the defenses, and maybe quad cannons, but your minigunners will be able to take care of a lot of stuff. Especially hijackers, which GLA stealth loves, and your minigunners will kill them instantly. So I'd say probably those two. As we're seeing here, USA isn't a terrible matchup, just depending on if they've got the snipers or not. Definitely don't like Toxin.
I 1000% agree with that against stealth. That's exactly my thoughts. The attack troop crawler, the outpost, they detect stealth. Stealth's main weapon against tanks of any sort is their hijackers. I trillion% agree with that. You asked me once, what can USA do against a China infantry rush? Someone say they do what Skippy does.
Oh, yeah.
Pulls out on all of their money, as much infantry as they can, and sends them all at you before you have the chance to get snipers. Have you come up with anything for that yet? Or what's the best thing that you've come up with so far? Because I think the options, I don't think any of them are awesome. But what do you think?
Yeah, I remember the game that you did that to me. That was so painful. Because I was relying on fire bases as my defense against infantry, which I thought was a pretty fair option, but you still managed to just simply overwhelm me with numbers, and then I didn't have that much left inside the base. I think, of course, snipers are the best option USA will ever have, but other than that, Rangers with flashbangs are incredibly effective against infantry, so that probably should have been what I focused on most. Sentry drones with the machine guns, I remember those being brought up in the conversation after that game, and that was definitely a lot more effective than I expected them to be after actually testing them out. So those could definitely be worth the money. But I would say probably I would spam Rangers in response and just go toe to toe, even with the minigunners cutting through them. Maybe you can't really put them in Humvee because the Humvee was going to just die to the minigunners as well, and then all the troops inside die immediately when it dies. So probably flashbangs, kill groups in an area of effect.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's just as USA, you're gambling by going all Rangers. It's like, well, if they're not infantry rushing, then I've just wasted a whole bunch of money. Whereas infantry general, you make a bunch of minigunners, and they've got a whole bunch of uses. They can shoot down planes. They can even gun down tanks in large numbers. So it's just much more of a gamble for USA to go all Rangers right off the bat, assuming they're going to rush you. You might be missing out on other opportunities for your economy.
Yeah, that's true. USA is just not built to handle an infantry rush very well. So if you are defending against it, then you really got to invest towards it. So it's very much a situational, either preemptive play or reaction. And hopefully, though, you've got drones. Drones should be your manner of scouting and determining what your opponent is doing. So that should give you at least a solid minute, I would say, of preparatory time and to react to what your opponent's doing. And if you know that they're building up the infantry, you can respond to that. Otherwise, you can respond to whatever else they're doing. But I would say that's the main thing as USA to do, is just keep scouting your enemy, know what they are doing, and react to them. Because USA has a lot of expensive units, so you really have to pick and choose what you're going to use.
Whoops. But you've got one of the best combos for infantry general, I think, would be nuke cannons and super lotus. get a couple of new cannons in there, you might have to just destroy one defense is all it takes to build a hole large enough in their defensive line for your Lotus to sneak through. This time, I mean, you blew all of the defenses away, so your new cannons are able to follow her into the base, but oftentimes you can just take out one defense.
Does she die from that poison? Not quite, okay.
Almost.
I do kill my my troops there, though. Yeah. When I actually start attacking on a defensive line, I like to destroy the whole thing. So I definitely have that tendency rather than just inserting through a small gap. Just because the range of defenses is so wide, like you might have one here, you might have one way down here and here, but if you kill this one, yeah, the Super Lotus will be able to sneak in, and that's really effective. We were talking about those incision strikes earlier. But if you're trying to push anything else through, the ones over here will still keep hammering at you with rockets or whatever else they have. So I tend to make a pretty wide gap before I try to move anything in other than a stealth hero unit.
Well, it's great for getting experience points too, or generals points.
Oh yeah.
For those next level promotions. Which ones do you tend to prefer with that second level? Do you do mines, artillery, carpet bomb? That's when you can get repair as well. Repair is level 2. There's more frenzy, or there's paradrop. Which ones are you going after first when you get that level 2?
It's a lot of good options, honestly. I like
really
the infantry generals powers that they have, and I would say that probably the first one that I get is going to be mines. Mines is super effective either for offense or defense, usually for both, and generally you're unless you're putting it in front of enemy war factory, you don't have to worry about the plane dying to defenses, but they're just, you can drop them anywhere on the map, and very few armies have stealth detection to know that they're about to run into them.
Say against Humvees, like that group of Humvees right there,
Mm-hmm.
if you try to come at them from one direction, chase them off to the right, and you've placed mines there already, those Humvees would all go up.
Yeah.
They've got low enough hit points.
I remember actually that's something I did in this game. There's an instance, I think it might be coming up later, in which I was trying to start an attack, but I really didn't have the troops to deal with the fast-moving Humvees because they just kept harassing everything that I sent. And I remember sending at least 2 waves of troops that just got obliterated by harassment because I just couldn't get into range. So what I ended up doing was dropping some mines right here at this corner, and then I sent some nuke cannons to be on the other side of the mines, made some initial attacks with those, and then pulled back a little bit. So the Humvees saw the nuke cannons, nice hasty targets, slow moving. They came rushing forwards to kill them, and ended up smacking right into the whole group of mines, and all of them went up.
Very nicely done. Yep, you can set traps with them. You can just put them in front of the war factory. Skippy's out. Now it's just you and your brother.
You have been defeated.
Yeah, I would say that mines are probably the most universally effective general's power that China could get. You can, depending on how you use them, strategies, all sorts of things you can try with them. I also love the carpet bomb, just for its wide area that it hits, and just it can nail an army that's coming to get you, like we saw on the other one, if you time it right. Harder to time, but oh yeah, I think this is where I'm pretty sure I lose this entire army. And you're like, look at this army, or look at this army. Like, come on, this should win. This should totally win here, right? But nope.
Well, you sent your flamers in way ahead.
Yeah.
Humvees are going to be strong against those.
I was trying. I think I was going to plan to make some wall of flames or something like that. But then everyone got mixed together in trying to move forwards, and he kept going.
Those snipers have great range.
And I tried to find where the right place to hit him was, the snipers were killing out all of the infantry that were coming. Anytime that I tried to nab them, they're just outside of that wall of flame range. Couldn't do
That's
anything
something we
about
could
it.
talk about with infantry as well, is just how easy it is to toast your own infantry that's trying to be a part of the army. You got dragon tanks, you got inferno cannons, those are the main perpetrators. But, nuke cannons, they could be walking in through the, whatever it's called, even MiGs, they could walk through the flames. Like, it's just so easy to take out 10, 15 of your units, and you don't, like, I don't notice it when it's happening because it's just infantry, right? I've got plenty of them, but it can take out a lot of your own guys really fast. It's something to watch for. Don't walk through the flames too quickly.
Yeah, Inferno cannons especially, because they hit that first couple of shots and they're like, okay, that's the circle, that's what it's going to hit, and then that firestorm builds and suddenly, oh man, you've got a lot more area that's getting burned, and those troops might have been right on the edge of that. Oh, also one of the terrible things to do with Inferno cannons, or any army that is mixed with them, is use guard, because the Inferno cannons will create those firestorms. Then I have found more often than not, whatever they're shooting at tends to be inside the guard circle, and then because units, when they are finished shooting at things, will move to the center of the circle, they will really, very commonly actually just walk right into the flame on guard mode. So
Okay, that's my problem then. Yeah, because, I think you just said it. On guard mode, they target the unit that is closest to the center of the circle for where you put down, and then they'll move to it when all the units are gone. That's gotta be my problem right there. Yeah, I use guard mode. I love it, but I think I overuse it.
Oh man, and we can see here, MiGs just are terrible against Avengers. They shoot down all the rockets that come down and get shot down. The MiGs die themselves on the return.
Yep, but if he didn't have that Avenger there, those MiGs would have been great against the Humvees. So
they would have. Yeah.
It was a good thought. You never did make the helixes this game.
No, I didn't. I tend to go with one strategy or another and not mix it up too much. So that's actually less of a strategic thing, but more of a presence of mind type of scenario that I get stuck in my ways for something.
Or two, it's just there's some things where you don't have enough excess brain power to do. And so sometimes the lazy thing is, it's not a terrible thing to do, because you can only specialize in doing so many things well at once, unless you're a pro player, in which case you can do all of the things well at once.
Yeah.
Looking at those guys not hacking up there.
Yeah, it's
That's
China.
easy to do.
I have a problem. I almost always have a group of 9 from my last queue of hackers that isn't hacking until I realize it, and then I'll tell them to start hacking and build up a new queue and then forget again.
That's probably what makes their secondary economy the weakest. I think that would be the main reason, because the other ones, USA and GLA, they start giving you money immediately after you build them.
Mm-hmm.
China, it could be 4 or 5 minutes before you get anything back from them, before they even start to get their money back.
Right. And of course, it's another 5 minutes after that before they finally get the promotions to really make the money.
Is there anything else you're wanting to look at from this game, or do we want to fast forward through the rest of it?
Well, let's see. I remember using this Lotus. It didn't actually seem to have a significant effect by herself, but she actually did really help me later. There's the mines. Those are what I'm pretty sure I use later on to take down this army. I can fast forward a little here. Use Gen Tool. I'm going to set this replay speed down. I had it up a little high. I believe Robert starts sending these troops over. Yeah, they start coming towards this, and I got worried that they were going to move into that. So when he starts doing that, that's actually when I use this Black Lotus hiding in the back corner of the base to start capturing buildings. And because he A10'd that front line, and it was going to drop down pretty quickly.
The thing we haven't said about the bunkers yet is they don't come with a whole lot of health. So they're not expensive, they don't take very long to build. but they do go down fast. Like, those Gatling cannons have quite a bit more health than the bunkers do.
Yeah. And there's the power plant that I captured with the Black Lotus, so that's what actually drew this army back. Because if he kept going, I would have been hurting. I would have had those MiGs, but he had the Avenger, and I would not have had that much present at that area in order to push it back. So the Black Lotus ended up dying with only a power plant capture, but it did give me a lot of breathing room, which I needed.
Sometimes you just need 10, 15 seconds to be able to react to somebody's attack. That can be all the difference in the world sometimes.
Yeah. And Infantry General's Black Lotus, man, so effective. I really have to make sure I use it in every game because, you know, unstealth and then the building is taken within 3 seconds. Alright, so they've got most of the army there. I was trying to hold them. I think I'll often engage and try to hold someone in a dangerous zone. But then, yep, here we go. Set up right on the other side of those lines.
Nice.
Knowing that those zombies would come after them. So really what ended up getting this game for me was artillery. Infernos and nuke cannons, I think, was what ended up helping me the most. I really wanted to use those to their effect because again, Robert was denying me on any time I tried to go in with any actual force because nothing I had could keep up with the mobility of the Humvees. So ended up having to be generals' powers and artillery that finally broke through. And firestorms are so effective. Sometimes I think they're a lot better than nuke cannons that actually just go and build anything except heavy armor.
Yeah, that's one of the things that has been upgraded in our 1.06 patch that we play from the original is Inferno cannons. They've gotten a boost to their health points. And so they went from kind of like a buggy with how fragile they are to a bit more like a tank that you would use with the rest of your army. It takes a little bit of a punch, not much, but it's got a little bit of life to it.
Yeah, I didn't realize that they, before this patch, had the health of a buggy. I completely forgot about that. I only remembered looking that up today. So glad to have them because they're the backbone of my military more often than not is China. So yeah, this game, artillery was really coming through for me. Land units, troop crawling, attack outposts, not too much against this matchup. I think the only other thing that really interests here is also seeing in the final promotions for a general of China that you get that EMP, and that thing can be so good at helping set up a good attack and get you into the maze with a left one.
That's two things that I don't think I use very often, that when I watch the pros play, they use all the time, is that cluster mines and the EMP. They will send the EMP right ahead of their army and then just decimate the base for free.
Yep. So here goes.
You got all the defenses.
And that's just in time for a nuke cannon to go in. This mine was basically protecting my units if anything happened to come that way before I got there. And then in that time where everything's down, I had a safe window. And there wasn't actually that much that I needed to worry about since the artillery would outflank the defenses anyway. But if this was more of a troop crawler or a tank army of some kind, which you might have if you're not the infantry general, but you still have EMP, then that EMP, that really goes a long way towards getting you into the enemy base.
So it looks like you have that, what's it called, that fire upgrade?
Black napalm.
Black napalm. That's one that I forget about a lot too.
That
I
is
think of
one
it for
I
dragon
never-
tanks, but it applies for infernal cannons, and it applies for MiGs.
Uh-huh. And the very rarely used Phoenix napalm bomb.
I didn't know that one. Makes sense. It's got napalm in the name.
Yep. I
Hitler's
want to
artillery.
try experimenting with that update honestly more, because I want to see more of its usefulness, and I haven't really tried to that much. I'll see when situations might call for it. Robert was being very tenacious. The first in the left corner, and then both again here, then just floating again up here.
He's got $215 left. What are you doing with $77,000? Why not build 8 more war factories?
Yeah.
You have been defeated.
Once I get anywhere like over 30,000, I think I just sort of stop being useful with it. Alright, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's do it. Final replay here. Another. Oh, this will be a 3v3. This time we're going to be focusing on Scottagorn, me. I will be the China infantry this time because, well, Matt didn't want the focus to be all on him. He wanted to share the glory a little bit. Less embarrassing that way. So I will gladly show how I run over Matthew with China infantry. It would be my pleasure.
So what are you starting out with here?
3 dozers, which is a reasonable amount, as opposed to 4, like some people do, because you can actually keep those 3 dozers working at the beginning of the game. 4, if I try to make 4, one of them invariably just ends up sitting around, doing nothing for a bit. 2 barracks, 1 for that corner with the oils, which is my main focus, and 1 for filling up my bunkers, which is just to defend my base. I'll spend a little bit of focus and a little bit of energy on the bunkers, but most of what I'm thinking about is that corner.
So, one of the things that I found most interesting about this match was that you, as China, rushed hard and won the rush game, which I think is very counterintuitive for China. You generally don't think of China as rushing, but rather long and slow and methodical. But that is not how you played this. You even were scouting me out here.
Yeah, I'm looking for workers wherever I can find them. Like this minigunner shooting your tunnel, I'm not even looking at it right now. I'm just hoping to catch a few spare workers down there to distract you a little bit. Because like I said, what I really want is that corner. That's what I'm really focusing on. If you're not thinking about a rush as China, then I think you should rethink them. Because they're my favorite. Even infantry. Infantry may be less than all the other ones, but even infantry does have a rush to them. Especially against GLA. If you can get those minigunners out quick enough, shoot the worker as he's working on the tunnel like I did, build a bunker, goes up really fast, and then whatever infantry you had out there, even if they're minigunners, even if they're not tank hunters, you load them into those bunkers, all of a sudden you've got a stout defense there.
So when I think... Oh, go
ahead.
When I think of China rushing, the 2 things that I can immediately come to mind would be bunkers and would be flame tanks. Is that what you think of when you first think of rushing with China, or do you take a different path?
It depends on the faction. Against USA, I'm thinking about Gatling tanks, which I don't have here, so I'm going to be spending... Okay, there's where those mines come into play. I just saw it.
Yep.
I spent a little bit of focus on the defense, which was just barely enough. The rest of my focus is up north. You'd sent a couple of, I think, terrorist technicals. Yeah, It blew up the bunker on the other side of the mines. Rushing with China infantry, you don't have the Gatling tank, and you don't have the Battlemaster to deal with armor. But what you still have is the Dragon tanks, which is pretty strong against GLA. The main thing I rush with is my infantry against GLA. The main thing I want to do is get my minigunners out as fast as I can, kill the workers, take space, defend it, utilize all of the extra economy that space affords me. Like, that's 3 oils already captured.
Yep.
That's the first thing that I wanted to do. And 1 reinforcement pad up there, which By the way, you can actually select the reinforcement pad and have it queued up to the front line instead of just having the troops come out right in front of it, which I did at some point.
And the great thing about the infantry general is they have the most expensive unit in the game from the reinforcement pad. That troop crawler, $2,400 for free. That is
Every time.
the best use of it.
Right, yeah, like you see, I built a defense back there that Gatling cannon back where I thought that I was going to need my front line, but when I saw that I was able to take that whole area, I moved the front line up with the bunkers. That way I had less real estate to have to defend. That way I could do it with just 2 or 3 defenses instead of a whole bunch of them. So now I'm thinking about Inferno cannons. I'm already thinking about range. Once I've gotten the extra economy, next thing I'm thinking about is ranged units, which China Infantry is amazing with ranged units. I do get the upgraded Inferno cannons because I love Inferno cannons so much.
Yeah.
And with that war factory right up there, the main purpose of it was to get Inferno cannons out towards your base as soon as I possibly could, which is good because you were thinking buggies as soon as you could.
I
Against my
wanted to try
bunkers.
and push back that front line. I really wanted to. And go ahead.
You're gonna see me chase those buggies with that assault troop crawler, with the troop transport. I put them in some bad positions, I lose some units, but I don't feel super stressed about it. I'm okay with losing the units as long as I don't lose the defenses because I know that I've got so much extra cash.
And this was one of my mistakes. One more volley from that rocket buggy would have killed that bunker. And then I could have focused on that dozer or maybe the Infernos. One more. I was using the healing from the tunnel effectively, I think, but you still nabbed a lot of my rocket buggies.
It's not hard to do. If they stay in that fire from the Inferno cannon for more than a couple seconds, they'll burn up.
Yep. China has trouble with stinger sights. Most of their weapons won't be able to kill it like quad cannons or rangers, but that flame will always do the trick. Oh, this is the worst one. Oof. All
2, 3. Yep, 3 shots.
That lost me that matchup right there.
Yeah, in the Inferno cannon versus buggy matchup, I think buggies need a little extra help.
Especially with what you said about the patch giving the Infernos double the health of what they did.
Right. Which is when you could choose to switch to Scud launchers, but if I decide to put down a few Gatling cannons, that negates a lot of the Scud launchers.
So what was that you said about the chain gun upgrade being necessary, whereas it would work with it but not otherwise?
Chain gun would upgrade your Gatling cannons so that they are quicker to shoot out Scud launchers from the sky or shoot out Tomahawk missiles. They don't affect your minigunners.
Yeah, I know
They
it's
do
25%.
affect Gatling tanks.
I know it's 25% upgrade on the chain gun for the rate of fire. Is that the threshold that they need to knock the missile out of the air?
I don't know about that. I know that it gets them so that they start up at max speed. Whereas otherwise, even the Gatling cannons, that defense, it takes it a little while to speed up. And so if it's taking a while to speed up, the Tomahawk missile is going to land before it's at full speed. But if you've got the chain gun upgrade, it'll shoot it out of the sky.
So the chain gun also lets it start up from the beginning at full speed.
Yes.
Ah,
Pretty sure.
I think I've missed
90%
that.
sure about that.
Here we see you making a lot of use of those attack outposts.
Yep, that's going to be my anti-quad cannon. The Inferno cannons are my anti-defense. I've gotten the defenses pared down to the point where I can slip a Super Lotus in there.
Angry mob dies to Infernos. Ah, that firestorm. Oh. I've noticed you are very good at multiple things going on, pulling something sneaky on during an attack. Like, whipping in a Super Lotus on the side as your main force does something, and just being patient with her, not trying to capture everything all at once, just waiting until the right moment.
Well, she's right by that palace right now, and you actually can't capture palaces with a Lotus of any kind.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think I might be trying to go for it.
One thing I do try and do when I'm up against Inferno cannons is I will try to run my units into the middle of them so that if they take me out, well, at least they're firestorming themselves too.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what the outposts were supposed to protect against. But I think I send them in too close. They're getting smacked up by the stinger sights now.
Yeah. Also, Scorpion Rocket landed in the middle of this whole group, only took them down to like half health, and then they're just healing right back up from that attack outpost.
Not surprising. I would figure Scorpion Rockets would be one of the stronger things against groups of infantry because they've got the splash damage to them.
Right.
But maybe just one rocket by itself isn't enough to do that.
Guess not. Here we see Joe coming to my rescue with his laser tanks. Still not great against infantry, but they sure help against those outposts.
Well, you put Hellfire drones on the laser tanks, and all of a sudden they're not terrible. If you've got composite armor and a bunch of Hellfire drones, they do okay.
That is true.
Plus, you've got the tunnel helping you out there, and now you do think about the Scud launcher. You do think about Scud launcher for the Infernos. So this, yeah, at this point in the game, I got a little overconfident. I was thinking that I had the corner, I had all the extra resources. I knew I had more resources than you. I knew I had your defenses down. I knew I'd taken out a couple of your buildings. So I just figured, okay, waltz through your base. I can just waypoint my barracks and my war factories up towards the front. I think you can see I'm not using all my money. I've got $12,000 left. What I wasn't counting on was the Scud launcher, those quad cannons doing so well, and the Auroras from Joe.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking I've been kind of trying to adjust my strategy as I go over the last however many months of, okay, when you gain ground, what should be your next priority? You gain ground in an opponent's base. Say you kick them out of where they were, but they're able to rebuild somewhere else. Do you chase them down with the troops that you have? Do you trickle troops in kind of one by one, trying to chase them down? Or do you stop and make a new defensive line and rebuild where they were? And that's something I've been thinking about, working on. Not sure I've got it down yet, but...
Well, certainly it's GLA, though. If you are GLA, then you want to put a tunnel network forwards.
Yes.
Automatically gain use so much area of control. Oh, and that carpet bomb, I remember that. Oh, using those generals' powers. The infantry general has very nice ones again. Mine's power, carpet bomb, EMP. You liked the paragraph in this one, it looked like. But that carpet bomb really...
I did a pair drop, yep.
That really shredded my units that I had ready for this next attack. So here we notice one of the things that I think was Joe's saving grace was that, again, what we mentioned earlier, those rocket troopers, tank hunters, they don't have as much range as the minigunners, and the rockets take time to catch the planes, sometimes fizzling out before they reach them. So Auroras are a lot safer fighting against these guys than troop crawlers.
Yeah, it's like I never quite had all of the units I needed all at one time. Those minigunners that I sent, I think a lot of them were shot out of the sky by the quad cannons. They would have helped against the Auroras right there if they'd been able to survive the paradrop.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, attack outposts more against land units than against air units.
I think that minigunner drop actually might have died to terrain, landing on this strip right here.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, maybe we rewind this video and I'll check that, but I think that's what they died from. They land on a place where they can't actually be. I think so.
Really
still
wishing I
kinda
could have gotten some of those workers out. Wish I would have just run that to the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I saw you building those, I rushed forwards. I did not want you having them, and I was hoping that you didn't instantly build a supply center in your back base and then just keep using a dozer to get it all the way.
Nope, I didn't know about that at the time. I didn't think about that as an option. Just building something way on a different part of the map. You don't have to run your worker all the way over there. You can start building and then complete it with a different unit, like a dozer.
Yeah, though you do have to hit S. You do have to stop the build in order to build it with someone else.
Right.
Yeah, here we see the attack outpost just not worrying about the helicopters for the first couple seconds there.
No, and I think that's because they're stealth units. Typically, stealth units don't just attack, even if there's a unit within range. They want to stay sneaky for you.
Yeah. Lords do have a hard time hitting move targets. Yeah. This was a long game, but you definitely ended up beating us. Those continual streams of outposts and infernos, and you mixed in some troop crawlers later on.
I think most of the troop crawlers were coming from the reinforcement pad. I wasn't building too many of them.
Any particular reason for that? What are your thoughts on the different infantry general units and how you use them?
I don't want to make too many assault troop crawlers because they're $2,400 a piece. So just 4 of them, and that's like 2 super weapons worth of money right there. I prefer the outposts and the Inferno cannons. If I want mini gunners, I'll build a few and send them to the front. I know that's not quite as economically advantageous, but it's just kind of how I think. I usually like to have 2 barracks and 2 war factories going. Most of this game I was forgetting to queue up my barracks. Now I think you can see 1 minigunner run into the front line. I do finally have a barracks queued up towards the front because I like to have the infantry out in front of my troops. Kind of like the attack outposts, they're good fodder. Until you get an opponent with snipers, those infantry troops are gonna serve well for taking hits while your Inferno cannons are protected, and even while your outposts are protected.
That's true. Because a lot of armies don't have anti-infantry. Unless you're facing quad cannons, a lot of armies won't have that punch that they need to deal with infantry, and they'll just absorb missiles or tank blasts or whatever it is.
Unit lost.
Oh, this is
I've got
beautiful artillery here.
Right, yeah, look at that right there. It's like, don't move, Neo. Hold.
This
I don't know
goes
what
to show
level
generals' powers really turn the tide of a game. And I think that is one of infantry generals' strengths. Oh, somebody. You choose the right one for the occasion. As long as you aim it and hit it, it's devastating.
I think I selected all my tank hunters now to go after the laser tanks, but I don't mind my mini gunners going after them either. I don't mind. They're okay at that. Yeah, you guys are sending all your generals' powers against me too. Here comes Paul. He realized that we had a hole in the wall, that Neo's wall was staunch over on his side, and so now he's able to team up with me and we get a little bit further.
Yeah, I think this was Paul's first real attack that he sent in the game, too.
This was, besides helping Skippy in the middle, this would have been his first assault with an army like that.
It was very unfortunate for our side that the carpet bomb went right in between your 2 armies. Yours was too low, his was too high, but
oh wow,
it didn't end up hitting either one of them.
I can tell you my my thought process with continuing to just send units in instead of drawing back, instead of building up a defensive wall so that you guys couldn't just send auroras and destroy my units. I think the reason I do that is because I don't want to give you time to rebuild. I don't want to give you time to think enough to rebuild your base. That's the main thing that I'm wanting to do with keeping on the pressure. It's like, if I'm putting in 50% effort to throw these troops at you, I'm hoping you're putting in 70% of your brain power to have to fight them off. And since I think I still have the economy,
Right.
I think I've got the freedom, the leeway to be able to do that. Because as I watch this, I lose so many troops. Like it's very different from watching you play infantry, where your troop destroyed, a troop lost. As infantry, you had a positive. You had like 2-1 both of those last games. Mine's going to look opposite of that. I'm going to, even in a game where I do well, I'm going to destroy about half as many troops as I lose. And I think part of that is just me wanting to not give you any brain space. I don't want you to be able to think. And Neo. I don't want Neo to look at Paul with his auroras. Because
Paul,
if he does, that's
not
4
that much.
auroras right there.
He could walk into that base pretty easily if he did a little bit of preparation on it. 1 general's power, couple auroras, and he'd be able to take out a lot of that. But you're keeping it all focused, yeah.
Losing a lot of troops, so there's definitely room for improvement. But that's the thought process that goes behind it. Just want people's eyes on my units, and I'm assuming I'll destroy some of yours in the process as well. So it'll come out somewhat even.
Yep. And it works. It definitely works, especially against me. I may be able to play battles well, but I do not play parallel.
You don't play parallel, like what's that mean?
Sorry, I can't multitask extremely well. Like, you're building up armies often and doing your economy at the same time. You're talking about sending in 50% of your effort to the attacks, losing troops, but you're also still building your base. You're advancing your primary strategy. And whereas me, I'm fully focused on whatever battle I'm doing. And then if I've got the second battle, now I'm switching back and forth between them, but I wasn't aware the other one had even started. All sorts of things to my detriment, such as that.
Yeah, I think you and I have some similar playstyles, but that's probably the main difference between us, is that you don't want to lose troops.
Yes.
And that I probably am too okay with sending troops in and not watching them closely enough. At the start of the game, sure, I'll watch them pretty close to get that corner of the game, but halfway on and afterwards, I assume they'll be okay in times when sometimes they're not. Whereas for you, I wish you would be more okay with letting them die. Let the troops die. They're not real people.
Yeah. Yeah, once again we see here, Infernos destroying the whole bases all at once. That's China's specialty. Infantry generals got it. Attack outposts to detect the sniper that'll deal well with the actual infantry, and here you got your minigunners, so... Oh, they did take care of their
Wish
airplane
they'd
staff.
been focusing on the planes instead of the tanks. That would have been a great spot for me to be microing a little bit more, doing what you do. Could have taken out 10 or 12 Auroras right there if I'd been retargeting the minigunners.
Yeah.
Or sometimes just telling them to stop.
Mm-hmm.
I've noticed that, like with quad cannons, if you tell your units to stop attacking, stop walking, just press that S button, they usually target the planes that are coming in right above them. That's usually that's how I take out planes, is I press S and then they retarget.
Most annoying thing, though, is then when they retarget and they decide that these drones are the highest priority target.
Well, the drones do cost money, and so that's they're doing what they're supposed to do. Those are, what are those, $600 drones?
500, I think.
500? Still a lot.
Yeah. Sometimes as USA, if I'm up against a lot of Gatling or quad or minigunner, I'll just build a bunch of scout drones, because they'll have the same health as these, but they will tank those that damage until the actual troops underneath can actually attack normally. If your opponent doesn't micro and attack the troops as they stand.
Are you sure they have the same health as Hellfire drones?
Pretty sure they do. I think drones in general have similar health.
I always thought Hellfire had the most.
You may be right. Scout
We'll have to
drones,
double
though,
check
being $100 and drones always build extremely quickly, it's definitely very cost efficient. I end up spending so much money when I lose Hellfire drones by the bucket load, so I don't like doing that. It's very, very expensive for me.
We're just getting a little bit of ground, ignoring those defenses up there.
Yeah,
Going around the defenses.
I'm trying to harass these buggies, but not succeeding much. And then this happened.
That's where Skippy joined the fray.
Yep.
From up north, yeah, you guys are hiding some nice buildings right up there with no defenses in front of them. Or maybe Skippy just got through the defenses with the buggies is more probable.
I'm trying to harass anywhere I can find an egg goal with these guys because they're all I've got. I actually had money this game. I had money. I just didn't have buildings to produce. I didn't have
Well,
a base.
that's part of what I was trying to do is not give you breathing room. So at least as I'm watching all of my troops die over and over again, at least I can say that I'm probably successful at that. Something I don't think it's in this game. Something I wanted to talk about with the Super Lotus is her ability to disable tanks.
Uh-huh.
You know, I think of Lotus usually as someone that you sneak off to the side, but you can include her in your main force of your army and just declare to your enemy that she's there by disabling some tanks, but I think that's worth it. Especially if you're up against overlords, she can disable them from a safe distance.
Uh-huh.
And that disabling factor, that it lasts for quite a bit. So
It does.
not
And it's
quite
got
like
range.
an EMP strike, but it's good at getting those tanks one at a time.
And you know, something else? No one ever uses hackers for offensive or defensive play, but super hackers from the infantry general, they also have that ability. You could get five super hackers and disable vehicles by the bucket load, because they also have that vehicle hack.
Seems like such a precious unit. You're supposed to be hiding them and protecting them, not sending them to the front line. But how much are they? How much do
they're
they cost?
cheaper than a Super Lotus.
Oh, that's true. I think 300. I don't know how much they cost.
550.
It can't be 550. Okay.
Yeah, they're actually cheaper than a normal hacker at 675, I think, or something like that.
Tank is 675. I don't know about the other ones. I know tank is. I think the other ones might be 600.
Yeah, I think from here it's just a slow grind through, so I don't think there's too much more to see. So if we were, so let's do some summary on the infantry general.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, I'd say once again the main things to remember is the infantry general. Three aspects to consider for your what you have at your disposal. You've got bunkers galore. You've got outposts which hold 6, troop crawlers which hold 8 but with less health, helixes which hold 8, and all of those can be garrisoned with tons of troops to just pour down the rain and rockets and minigunners mixing or specialize one or the other. Those are your bread and butter, and they're going to be the meat of your force. Most and the ground troops, as you mentioned, they may lose 50% of their health when the vehicle dies, but you know, if you defeat some 3 or 4 troop crawlers, suddenly you're facing still a horde of infantry that takes a while to take down. So that's really going to do you well for going in this just simply numerical advantage and distracting the munitions of the enemy and hoping that they don't have anti-infantry guns. The second thing is going to be your general's powers: EMP, mines, carpet bomb, the paradrop if you'd like it. Also, getting those nuke cannons because you are having one of the strongest artilleries. You can't use Avengers or ECMs on Infernos and nukes, so use that artillery, use its range, firestorms, black napalm upgrades, and and don't forget the patriotism bonus from the propaganda center to get that rate of fire for your minigunners and tank hunters even higher, because the faster they fire, the more damage they deal. So those, I'd say, are the 3 things would be, yes, general powers, bunkers, and oh dang, now I forget. What was the third thing, Scottagorn?
I thought you were going to say
Oh,
artillery
yeah, that's
with
what it was.
the nuke cannons and the inferno cannons.
Yeah. Economy, China infantry is the best of any of the China super hackers, and they're all stealth to make it safer. They've got the hero unit Super Lotus to sneak into the base and capture buildings super quick. Before, even if you know she's there, she can unstealth, capture a building, re-stealth, and run away before you can find her. If you're even just a little bit out of range, she'll be able to take it before you can stop her. So helicopters really are one of the only things that can really get into play fast enough to deal with her most times, or just snipers or defenses all over the base. ECMs?
I think...
Go ahead.
Go ahead with the ECMs.
ECMs, I always am prone to forgetting that they exist, but they are very strong against most matchups, and even not just blocking rockets, but slowing down a fast-moving enemy like Humvees. They can trap them so they can't get away. It only takes them a second or two to disable a vehicle. So
yeah, I think when people think about infantry general, the first thing they think about is probably the Lotus and how good she is, and they're worried about helixes. They want to use helixes, or they're worried about the helixes and how they can sneak around the side. And infantry general does have good sneak around the side strategies like that, but they also have, in my mind, a good army that can confront your army face to face. If it's armor that you're worried about, try some ECMs to disable the overlords. Try putting a few nuke cannons behind your army and just advance slowly.
Yep.
Take ground real slow. Oh man, yeah, you used those on my emperors the other day on Europa. Like those, you almost got all of them for yourself. Yeah, they've got answers for heavy army. You can mass produce as infantry general. You don't just have to do espionage type missions on the side.
Mm-hmm. And I do recommend mixing tank hunters into troop crawlers, or minigunners into the attack outposts. So not the default unit that goes into them, but make use of them, because you think Humvees and battle buses, you think rocket troopers. So why not put them into the troop crawler? They may not have that much health, but I have definitely used it to very strong effect sometimes, or just go with the attack outpost either way. And as we saw in this game, not weak in the rushing area either, using those bunkers and those early barracks and infantry to get across. Flame tanks as necessary, which are going to take down a GLA tunnel one-on-one if they're left alone to it.
And those assault troop crawlers, they're 2,400, so very expensive, but we play with 20,000 now instead of 10,000, so in the rush, you can afford a couple of them. I think especially against USA, they do very well. You get one around to the side before the defenses are up, and those Chinooks are down immediately.
Yep. I think that pretty much covers it.
Yeah, if there's anything else about infantry general, then I don't know. You're not going to get it from us. So that's about all I have to say about the infantry general.
Well, we're putting this into a YouTube, so leave it in the comments.
Yes, tell us what you think. What do you enjoy about infantry general?
And pretty much wraps up this game too. I think we're going to see the end of it here pretty soon, but we don't have to wait for that. So
just fast forward to it. I like watching this. I don't mind.
Satisfying for you.
I don't mind letting her roll. I've got more infantry that I need to roast. Yeah. Oh man, units lost 537, units destroyed 340. That is inverse of what it looked like for you.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean,
but you won.
You're the one who's 13-0 with faction, even though you claim that you don't like them all that much. So I'm not questioning how you play it. I'm just curious how you do it differently.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, it's been fun doing this together with you, and thanks for inviting me, Scottagorn.
Absolutely. Thanks for getting our first tutorial video up on the site.